Hello, everyone. Yes, we have a new face. Kai is here.
Hey, yo.
You want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Prototype Kai, super robot mecha VTuber. Working my way back in and just reacting with Wolf tonight.
Yes, this time we have a video that honestly it took us too long to get to since we're all mecha fans. Yeah, the Imperial Knights, the do or don'ts from PancreasNoWorks. And yes, the reason his name is PancreasNoWorks is he is a diabetic.
That works.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't work, but yeah.
Well, you know.
But yeah, Kai actually has some models for 40k. Which is funny, because the video of him showing them to me, I had to tell him, are you trying to make the Crimson Fist? Because he accidentally made the Crimson Fist, basically.
Yep. Out of Blood Angels, which is,
That happens.
ironic.
Yeah. I mean, you might be able to find a Blood Angel successor that looks like Crimson Fist. I don't think there is one, but yeah.
That wasn't what I was going for, though. So.
I know.
They still look pretty good for my first time, so. Why I haven't gotten rid of them.
Also, if you want to help me escape from my job so that I can react to a bunch more stuff for you guys, go over to the Patreon or to the Twitch and, you know, help. Help me, please. Anyway, on to the part besides me whining and wibbling.
You know, I debated what to make this video. At first I thought maybe I'd do the Mechanicus. I mean, they're cool as all hell and one of 40k's most interesting factions. And I thought about maybe the Tau, because despite what dead memes and Imperial fanboys say, the Tau in their own way are yet another one of 40k's most interesting factions.
They're interesting in a way. So other ways are...
Sorry, just...
Some people describe... Go ahead.
They feel too angular and clean for it. I'm fine with an alien race that fights primarily via mechs and shit. It just doesn't look right to me. It looks too traditionally mecha.
I think that's
like, I can get behind traditionally mecha. I would love this in another setting. It just doesn't feel right for Warhammer visually for me.
Yeah, Warhammer kind of built itself around like the sort of
gigantic
medieval
scale.
steampunky.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look too modern.
The gothic
I guess
horror
that's why
aesthetic.
I gravitated towards. I guess that's why I gravitated towards the Imperial Fists and, well, the Imperial Knights and the Space Marines. But
yeah,
you don't get us wrong. All three of us are Gundam fanboys.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like the meme of the Tau is their weeaboo space communists, which, yeah, but they're not. They kind of are.
Column A, column B.
Like, the Tower's still bad, but they're not as bad as everyone else, but they're getting worse, so, yeah.
Yeah, they're getting to the point.
As I was writing this script, I
They're
decided
accepted
that sometimes
well
what
enough.
people want isn't something interesting, like characters and philosophies and motivations and whatever else there might be. Sometimes what you want is to go monkey mode with a 40-foot-tall robot piloted by a medieval knight turning a demon beyond time, space, and human comprehension into sludge. Some chivalrous madman that seems like he's displaced in time as he goes on about glory and knightly honor while he pilots a mech suit with a laser machine gun. Doesn't that sound like something you can get behind?
Yes, and I might actually want that to be in a story or be in a game I create.
I've got 3. I've got 3 Imperial Knights waiting.
I can't afford them. Well, okay, I can't afford them. I don't want to afford them.
Yeah,
hey, if you're gonna get a model from Warhammer, I would recommend the Imperial Knights. Yeah.
I thought about it, but it's $100 for one.
I got 3.
Dear God, Kai.
Not all at once, and they are for my army. But
still.
If it doesn't, then you are a boring human being, and I wish to never meet you. But if it does sound interesting to you,
I do like how it quite literally does. Yeah, if you're not cool by this, why would I... You're boring. Why would you not be cool? But think this is cool. Which, I love giant mecha knights, so this is all up my alley.
To show you the glory of the Imperial Knights.
Yeah.
I know that's good.
I find a good theme in my playlist for
But
the
before I
Imperial
start
Knights, 'cause they
droning
don't
on,
have, like something like that.
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't know where he just showed that from, but it looked cool.
I need to let you know that this video was sponsored by
the
none
announcement
of...
trailer for the Imperial Knights.
Maybe.
other than Raid Shadow Legends.
Funny
That's
enough, I
right,
have
am
played
here
and got
once more to
sponsored
tell
at
you
one
about the fun
point
and
by
free
Raid.
RPG that you can play right now on your phone. And this is a
it's
special
alright.
promotion. And you know why? It's because,
It looks
and
like
I
a
cannot
pretty
tell
good,
you enough how happy it makes me. It's all about elves
turn-based.
this time.
I did
Oh,
tell-
it's elf time, baby. Hi, elf
I
time
did ask
specifically
people to
is
help me
glorious
support
of
me,
elves
and,
we
you know,
found.
so that I
Let me
could
tell
get
you
paid
some
for
lore
it.
about Raid's elves, because I
But,
will take literally any opportunity to shove elves down people's throats, and Raid has provided me with one. See, thousands of
Yes, he will. He is a huge elf fanboy. He likes the Eldar.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah.
years ago, in the wonderful world of Raid, the High Elves had a glorious kingdom. It was a High Elf kingdom, therefore you automatically know it was better than every other kingdom by leaps and bounds. Then
Dear
some
God.
jerk named Seroth started convincing a few of them that unlimited power and shadow magic
Or at
were
least
totes
that's
the
how
best thing
they
ever,
want you to
guys,
think.
and an elven civil war began.
I need to
Doesn't
turn
this sound
Kai up a
familiar,
bit.
my Warhammer fan base? But unlike
Well,
the
I'm
Asura,
also
the High
being
Elves
very
and
low.
Raid aren't dying out after the Civil War started. They're specifically stated
It's
to be
mostly
the
for the
largest,
video,
richest,
so
and most
people-
powerful
other
nation in
people can hear.
Teleria to this day.
True,
And you
true.
know what,
I'm
viewer?
working
This
on
makes
my
my elf loving
librarian
self
in a
feel
minute.
inner peace. And the Elven Heroes of Raid certainly live up to that legacy.
Oh,
There's a
you're making you're painting your librarian right now?
Assembling and painting at the same time.
Oh.
role in the battlefield you need filled, rest assured there's an elf champion to fill that role. Because there's an elf for every occasion. I don't care
Oh my
what the
God.
dwarves say, they're wrong and elves are the best. My favorite high elf is one that was actually talked about the last time I talked about Raid, Deliana. Sport heroes and games are always my thing because I'm bad at actually playing video games and like to just hang back and help other people be good. And Deliana is perfect for someone like me. Plus,
mean, a
again,
healer
elf,
decides
I'll
who
be
lives
honest
or
with you,
dies.
even though she's a hell of a champion, she could be garbage and I'd still love her entirely because of elf. Now of course there's more to Raid this month than just elves, as much as it pains me to have to stop talking about my precious elves. There's a
my
non-stop
God.
barrage of special events and
Okay.
activities,
Oh,
including
the
Forge
elf.
Pass Season 3 that can get you some pretty
I
damn
think
spicy
he likes
rewards,
elves.
such as a limited edition
noticed.
artifact set. Now that's spicy. But of course there's more, for
Yeah,
such
he
is the
does.
power of Raid Shadow Legends.
I wish we were
There's
talking
also
about
new
Imperial
champions
Knights,
and
but we're
some
not right
fan-free,
now.
fantastic looking skins for Madame Saris.
We
What
gotta
more need I
wait.
say? The skins speak for themselves.
Yes.
And finally, the single most important piece of Raid
But yeah, I
news
do
can
like
possibly
Mecha
deliver.
Knights.
That
As I've
knight,
said
the skeleton
before,
knight that keeps getting
some of my
relentlessly
favorite
bold in
designs
trailers
in
for
all of
Raid is
Mecha
finally
are in
becoming a superpowered
Broken Blade
legendary version
or
of
Break
himself.
Blade.
And I just got to tell you right now, heart to heart, I cried a little
Which,
bit when I found
those
out
are
the guy
very
was
knighty
finally getting what he
designs, so I
deserved.
love
If you
them.
haven't, then you should absolutely download Raid Shadow Legends. If you
I want to
somehow
make
are
a
convinced
game
by what I've
involving
said so far,
knightish
then I don't think you've been
mechs.
listening to me. But here's something extra to sweeten the
the three
deal. If you
Imperial
click
Knights
my
I
link
do
in the
have,
description
two of them are
or
from
the
the
QR
Horus
code
Heresy,
presently
and
on
I'm
screen
so
right
glad
now
they're
staring you in
playable
the
in
face, you'll
second
get $30
Oh,
worth
you're
of
using
rewards
Horus
for
Heresy
free.
models?
You'll get Tayrell, who's yet
Not
another glorious high
for
elf,
all
as
of
well
them,
as
like,
200,000
it helped
silver,
me,
1 energy
build up
refill,
the
1
chapter.
XP boost, and an
Ah.
ancient shard to get yet
But
another
also
amazing
it is
champion
in the
right
lore
away.
that
Who knows?
these,
Fate may even smile on you and
suits have
bless
been
you with
around for
another
a very
elf. These
long time,
rewards will
so-
all be waiting for you right here in the inbox. Rewards are only available for the
Also,
next
I
30
think the
days and
designs
for
are
new
just a
players
little bit
only,
better
so
than the
glory to the
40K
high
designs.
elves, download Raid Shadow
Huh.
Legends now, and I'll see you there. Now that we've wrapped that up, it's time to talk about the
Alright.
giant, stompy robots killing everything ever. Imperial
I know that there are two types of Imperial Knights. Which ones do you have? The Paladins or the other one? I can't remember. Are they how do their legs look? Do they look backwards or normal?
One is called Dominus. That's the 40K model I have, and then the other
Feels
two
nice.
are
Megadeuce.
Oh my God.
Cerastus.
This-
They have retrograde-ish legs.
Oh.
Everything else in the modern day of 40k are a damn near untouched and undegraded piece of Dark Age of technology equipment. In the
Yeah.
last ages of 40k's history, Imperial Knights served a dual purpose to ancient humanity's efforts to colonize the galaxy. One of those purposes is rather easy to see. A big
Okay.
giant stompy robot is going to be really effective at defending your burgeoning space colony.
Pretty
some
much.
aliens or demons invade, try to eat some humans, and then a steampunk Evangelion blasting a war horn sends them straight back to hell. But as it turns out, for
Pretty
whatever
much.
reason, humanity in
Yeah.
40k built its war machines to serve
They
dual
are
purposes,
mini Titans,
construction
but
equipment as well. The chainsaw a
they're
knight
also
comes
a lot more
equipped with
mobile
is
than a
great for
Titan.
sawing down forests to
I
build a
just-
home with. A battle cannon
Oh yeah, these are also used for construction, kinda.
can level a mountain to make more space, and their massive robot hands can pick things up and move them around like the sickest crane in existence. They still weren't quite the knights we know and love today, though. Initially, they
Ah.
were just war machines / construction equipment, depending on the day, with the AI system of the mech making the pilot feel a bit more protective towards his colony.
Oh, yeah,
and then
they did
the
have
Age of
AI.
Strife happened. Warp travel became impossible because of the horny space elves clogging up the soul traffic, rendering every human colony more
They
than a
did do
solar
that.
system away from each
Yes,
other,
they did.
completely isolated. This is when the knights became truly knights and more than just name, as many of these worlds found themselves slipping back into feudalistic societies as a result of being completely cut off from each other. By the
Yep.
time the Imperium was formed and
Yeah,
these
my
knight worlds were
chapter
being rediscovered,
their home world is actually one of these night worlds.
Yeah, there's
Hmm.
quite a few feudal worlds.
Most of them were back to ye olden times, with the broken English and jousting tournaments that implies, just with a Gundam instead of a horse. The Throne
I kind of love
Mechanicum,
that.
the system a knight's pilot hooks themselves up to, is what caused these knights to feel protective of their colonies and take on a role of guardianship. Over time, however, when combined with the regressing technology of these isolated worlds, it caused the pilots to view themselves as medieval knights of noble houses. It's not that the Throne
Makes
Mechanicum
sense.
invents a fantasy world for these knights to hallucinate themselves in, since the worlds they come from are usually both medieval and feudal in nature. But when you combine that with the falling level of technology, you get people firmly believing in the ideals of chivalry, honorable combat, and sleeping with their sister to preserve the family bloodline, all
What?
while they're in a mech. You might be wondering
my
why
God.
they all coincidentally return
It
to
depends
roughly
on the
the
night-
exact
on
same
the night
level
world,
of
I guess.
medieval technology. There are naturally
Yeah.
in a mech. You might
I
be
see.
wondering why they all coincidentally return to roughly the exact
Yeah.
same level of medieval technology. There are naturally several different reasons for this. One is that Games Workshop can't be bothered to give us different looks for models, see also 90% of the Imperial Guard apparently all being Catacan or Cadian. Another potential explanation
Funny enough, the reason why this is just because they did have other ones like Talar, but they didn't sell well, so they kind of discontinued their model. Which is why it's mostly for Imperial.
Games Workshop.
I mean, I can't really blame them for this because if they're not selling well, then why keep the models going?
I
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, but
Because
then
fuck
again,
Games Workshop.
3D pretty is kind of where it's at.
I mean,
I'm
if
gonna have
someone's,
to do that for my Floridians.
I mean, if someone does that for Tolar or the Valhallans or any other one, because usually, I will say there is a group of Imperial Guard that you can use that are usually pretty cool, which are the Armageddon, Steel Troopers, or the Kriegsmen, the Death Corps of Krieg.
Wait, they're not selling well. I thought they did.
No, I mean, those are ones you can still buy of Imperial Guard. Those are
Oh.
still technically under the Imperial Guard. I didn't say they weren't selling well. Everyone loves the Kriegsmen and their crazy tactics.
is that the way the Throne Mechanicus alters the mind of a knight's pilot is just naturally conducive to a feudalistic environment.
Oh yeah, the pilots also have the AI in the Imperial Knight screws with their head a bit.
Given that they were the ones in the giant
Yeah.
robot
Little.
suit, if the knights wanted feudalism, they were
As
going
a
to get
joke.
feudalism. Or perhaps
Yeah,
it's
you don't-
because feudalism is roughly the minimum part of the tech tree where you can make the individual parts that make the knight work, like gears
Oh.
and whatnot, even though you sure as hell don't understand how it makes it work. For whatever reason, if you find a
Interesting.
planet of people with an abundance of stomping
Also, you
robots that
can't
aren't
exactly
quite
say no
titans,
to the
assume
guy
they'll be
and the
big
giant
fans
robot
of
saying he's a
serfdom and
knight.
castles. As these planets were rediscovered during the Great Crusade, they swore fealty to either the Imperium as a whole, the Mechanicum, or a specific Titan
I
Legion
really
for a variety
like
of
this
reasons.
artwork.
One very common reason,
It's
of
really
course,
nice.
being that a civilization consisting mostly of dirt farmers that think bathing lets in evil spirits don't know how to maintain jack. So they accepted
It
the Imperium's
does,
offer when
though.
they came in and said, "Hey guys,
It does not.
If that's true, why aren't I haunted anymore?
Oh my god. Ew.
don't know how to maintain jack." So they
That went
accepted the
completely
Imperium's
over my
offer
head,
when they
'cause
came
I'm
in and said,
trying
"Hey,
to
bathing
play
lets in
base
evil
code.
spirits."
I'll go back in 1
Since
second.
were
Let's say this.
rediscovered during the Great Crusade, they swore
No,
fealty
I missed
to
what
either
Medica
the
said.
Imperium as a whole, the Mechanicum, or a specific Titan Legion for a variety of reasons. One very common reason, of course, being that a civilization consisting mostly of dirt farmers that think bathing lets in evil spirits don't know how to maintain jack. So they accepted the Imperium's offer when they came in and said, "Hey guys, join us and we'll reintroduce you to the wondrous world of duct tape." So these planets rejoined humanity,
Yeah.
sometimes vassalizing themselves under the Mechanicus instead of the Imperium, and have faithfully served the armies of mankind ever since. Sure, when Horus threw his temper tantrum, a few of them joined the forces of evil, and every now
Yeah,
and then a knight
Chaos
gets bit murder
Knights.
happy and joins Korn or something, but those are fringe cases.
Sick ass designs though.
Chaos Knights are horrifying.
I shall henceforth be referring to the Horus Heresy as the cosmic bitch fit.
Well,
Everyone-
that's
Everyone
pretty much what it is.
kind of, yeah, that's basically what it is. It's Horus being tricked into thinking something that didn't happen and kind of causing the future that he saw.
Yeah, because Erebus is an asshole,
Yes.
and
And it-
Lorgar's a bitch.
Yeah.
Fringe cases,
Fun fact, there is an entire chapter now dedicated to fighting Chaos Knights. Which,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Granted, being entire planets of the bastards, but it's 40k, what do you expect? This video has been too light on funny jokes so far, so allow me to tell you about what happens when you
don't worry,
learn
I
how to
didn't make
become a
that
knight. An aspiring noble pilot will begin the ritual of becoming, whereupon you will bond to his knight's machine spirit. Sometimes when this happens, the pilot's head explodes. Generally, it is agreed upon that the aspirant has
sometimes it
failed
don't
the
work.
ritual if this happens.
I
If
know
this
a little
doesn't
bit.
happen, then congratulations. You now have a massive war
Basically,
machine
you have
that
to
you're just so
bond
damn
with it.
bonded with it, might as well be a second skin. The second
Which I
Yeah,
also
it's very
like.
much. It's very much Gundam.
I would say more White Knight Chronicles, but yeah. You have to bond with it. You
Well-
have to become one with it. It has to be an extension of
Mecha
yourself.
Pokemon.
No.
James Bond.
It chooses the pilot, basically.
second skin with cannons the size of houses on it, but a second
No,
skin
there's a joke I
nonetheless.
can
Who
make,
said
but
Max
I
couldn't
don't-
be
I
comfortable?
don't
When
wanna
becoming a
acknowledge
proper
it.
knight, the throne mechanicum you are bonded to also introduces positive
knight
feelings
chooses
toward
the
the
wizard,
concepts
Mr.
of fealty,
Potter.
hierarchy, and one's
Oh my god. What'd you just say?
The knight chooses the wizard, Mr. Potter.
ancestors. This
I
is
just
because
like to
these
pretend
said
Tom
Max
doesn't
couldn't be comfortable. When becoming a machine that you're just it's agreed
Listen.
upon that the aspirant has failed the ritual if this happens. If this doesn't happen, then congratulations. You now have a massive war machine that you're just so damn bonded with it might as well be a second skin. The second
Cool.
skin with cannons the size of houses on it, but a second skin nonetheless.
Still
Who
a
said
second
Max couldn't
skin.
be comfortable. When becoming a proper knight, the throne mechanicum you are bonded to also introduces positive feelings toward the concepts of fealty, hierarchy, and one's ancestors.
Ah.
This is because these feelings means they're going to defend
They-
their colony that much harder.
they
And
don't
also
already have
because
those?
Games Workshop is a British company and therefore views
I mean, they probably had a bit of
t-
that, but it's not like full.
Yeah, there's a lot there's a little bit more nuance. I'm not sure if they'll go over it, but yep.
Yeah, probably.
concepts such as social mobility in the same way most people view intestinal parasites. The
Oh.
knight then has to endure the rigors of court life, including but not limited to ceremonies that last longer than a planet's day, political intrigue that
Oh,
usually
God.
results in the death of at least a few dozen minor nobles, and other feudal dangers like the plague and malnutrition. It's in the name,
Wonderful.
after all, these knights still live on feudal worlds. Very frequently, the knight suit itself is one of the only pieces of technology beyond what medieval Earth
Huh.
would have on these planets. With that in mind, it's no wonder that whenever the Imperium
kind of. It
Mechanicus
depends on the night
call a
world.
war to the knights, they trip over themselves to get to the first transport off-world. I mean, what
Yeah, it makes sense why the knights just want to leave.
Yeah, the Caliban is technically a night world. They just didn't have any night suits.
It's a medieval world. Caliban is, well, it's not a world anymore, but
Well, no, not really. It's a rock.
let me give you a
Well,
context, Medica. The Dark Angels chapter, or Legion as it was called, saw what was left of their destroyed world and decided to turn it into a giant spaceship for them.
Was it a cool spaceship?
It's called the Rock.
The Imperial Fist's homeworld is, well, technically Terra, but
Yeah. Honestly, you guys in chat tell me if it's a cool spaceship, considering it's basically a giant floating meteorite.
it's cool. It's just the weird retcon surrounding whatever the hell happened to Lionel Johnson, because he was originally supposed to be in the rock asleep, but now he's not.
Well, that's because he's going on like a Fae quest. It's very all knightly and Arthurian.
And so far, one of the other few Primarchs to have a character arc.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes there.
would you rather do? Go on a grand tour to improve your
Knowing him
house's
not
standing
very
and
long.
gain glory? Or sit and listen to someone list titles for 3 hours before discussing how the grain harvest has gone down 3.54%? I
Yeah.
mean, come on now, we're not the Imperial Fist or anything here. And thus do these LARPing demigods march to the name of the God Emperor of mankind. As always, there's a
This
whole
is a
lot more
cool
background
art.
lore if you really want to hear it, but I'm gonna be honest with you right now. That's more or less everything important as far as I care. Medieval nobles get bonded to a massive war machine that makes them feel extra passionate about chivalry and going to Renaissance fairs. It's all the background you need for the Imperial Knights. So
Yeah.
from a lore
Yeah, I'd
perspective,
love
why
that.
go for the
Renaissance
several
fairs,
dozen
me too.
foot tall killing machine? Well, that's as
You
good a
all
reason
talked
as
over,
any, I
so I
say.
didn't
For
hear
starters, who doesn't like Pacific
sorry.
Rim? Because that's what it's like to rock a knight. You're gonna punch a greater demon in the face and then style on its
I've never
corpse.
seen
Those are
Pacific
fortress
Rim.
wall and the way
It's pretty good. The first one. The second one doesn't exist.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Because it was very obviously made by someone else and made for kids, is the second one.
About that, what I've heard of the second one is no, it was mostly based on Del Toro's notes for a hypothetical sequel.
Oh my god.
And it's made very kid-friendly.
Yeah, that part I have no words.
The Imperial
us
Guard,
blood and
it just so
titties.
happens that you're the perfect battering ram.
Oh.
Knights are called into the biggest and
Yeah,
baddest
they are
situations
the
to walk into an enemy
perfect battering
formation and
ram.
make some room. So if you want to be the center of all the action, then the Knights are the army for you. The Knights are also willing to work alongside pretty much anyone and have anyone into their ranks.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I was talking about how they
Well,
love the rigid
yeah,
social
they're part of my
hierarchies of
army.
royal court, so your average
I am
Knight
mostly
probably
playing
is going to be
Space
too
Marines,
supportive
but
of things like
Imperial
social
Knight's part of
mobility or not stepping on peasants like shag
Mm.
carpets. But that being said, anyone who's a
No
noble can come
promises.
and get their very own battle mech, and they'll happily fight alongside any Imperial force. Imperial
True.
Guard army requesting aid, the Knights are happy to answer the call of those less equipped for war than they are. Space Marines
True.
requesting assistance against the forces of chaos, the Knights would be honored to assist the Sons of the Emperor in
Of
such
course.
missions. Mechanicus requires protection while searching for archaeotech. Well, the average Knight probably doesn't know about gas heating, let alone ancient gravity technology, but they'll
Probably.
be there anyways. There's no human army that wouldn't be happy to fight alongside a Knight, and vice versa. No situation in the lore that Knight wouldn't feasibly
See, these are the two different types of knights. The paladins are the bigger ones
Oh.
with the guns. These are the littler ones. These are faster.
Yeah, I have the Dominus, the one in the foreground.
Okay.
That's the 40k model I have.
The one right here.
I literally, because I'm doing mainly Space Marines.
Mhm.
I can't have more than one knight. So.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense also.
be involved in some way. Even a stealth mission, because what better way to sneak in undetected than having Metal Aaron Yeager causing a scene on the other side of the base. And
True.
if you like 40k's unique blend of
a-
ancient traditions
it's a
slash
good
aesthetics
distraction.
mixed with futuristic technology, then the Knights are perhaps the ultimate representation of it. I mean, they're battle mechs the size of houses that are also chivalrous knights fighting for their honor and going on quests in
Who
the
doesn't
name
like
of home
that?
and the Emperor. You can't get more Imperium than that. You can also
I can-
play the
I can
morality of the
unfortunately
knightly houses
vote
however you
some
want.
people.
Want to go full grimdark future on everyone? Then have the Knights be brutal, oppressive
Or anyone who
overlords who
plays the
bully the
Tyranids.
peasants beneath them
Yeah.
and only ever do anything because it improves their
My best
standing
friend
and
plays
power.
the
Make it
Tyranids.
Game of Thrones,
Oh,
but with
well.
mecha. On the other hand, it's equally valid to imagine your knight army as the most idealized King Arthur ripoff bastions of chivalry in the galaxy.
True.
Men and women who save the colony
No.
from the forces of chaos,
trying
win
not
the
to do
respective
that.
chapters like
Why not? It's cool.
Well,
Fucking
the-
40k. That doesn't happen.
Actually, it
well,
does sometimes.
I did call the world Artorias, but that's about as far as I'm going.
the salamanders because of how damn nice they are, and even
Like
make
the
friends with the
Warcraft
perfidious Eldar.
You don't know anything about the salamanders, do you, Mitt?
Not a fucking clue.
Okay, then don't worry, Pet. You don't know much about
Some of
40k.
the
It
only
does.
good guys in 40k.
Well, there's a lot of good guys, it's just harder to find them. Anyway, the salamanders literally do everything they can to save people.
Because they're just that cool. The entire spectrum of morality is open to the knights. There's no need to lock yourself into either good or evil. And of
Yeah.
course, if you like the idea of mecha but don't want it to be aggressively anime, here's especially the army for you. Now don't get me wrong, I like me some anime. I've got a Dragon Ball Z tattoo and I've been listening to the opening to your boy Kong Ming regularly lately
Oh
because
my
it's just
God.
so catchy. And then I lie and say it's a JoJo opening or something to look like slightly less of a clown if anyone asks, but you know, that's unrelated. But sometimes I don't want Gundam even if I still want a giant mech. Well, in that case, you can't get better than the knights for that. I mean, you can get a Titan,
Well,
I guess,
I mean,
but
I'm
for
trying
some
to
reason,
customize a Gundam to work with 40k, so
I mean, honestly,
it won't work in any kind of gameplay, but it is going to be a fun project.
I do love Gundam, but even sometimes I get tired with some of the designs they put out. Like what they did with G-Witch, or what they did doing with the newest one.
I thought you
G-Quacks.
misspoke.
G-Flux is starting to grow on me.
The G-Quacks.
You misspoke and mispronounced peak.
No, I didn't. Because if I pronounced Peak, then I would have said G-Gundam.
I like G Gundam. I'm hesitant to ever actually give it the crown for so bad it's good.
No. That would be, one of the other Gundam series. It definitely wouldn't be G-Witch, because G-Witch is so bad it's bad.
I like it.
I know, I'm doing this to mess with Mitt.
You're
I
sleeping on the
don't. There's
couch.
not a Gundam I
reason
hate.
people have the
I mean, I
crazy
like all of them.
Yeah.
idea that it's better to spend your money on food and shelter
I'll make fun
rather
of the
than
strike.
first-world products. I know, I don't get it either, but
I'll make
that's
fun
just
of
how some
seed.
people are.
At
Oh,
all.
wait, why are you saying this is something for Kai, I
I
think?
want Gundam even if I still want a giant mech. Well, in that case, you
Let's
can't
go
get
back
better
real
than the
quick.
Knights for that. I mean, you can get a Titan, I guess, but for some reason, people have the crazy idea that it's better to spend your money on food and shelter rather than Forge World products. I
Oh my
know,
God.
I don't get it either, but that's just how some people are. I want to really
Dear
not-
God!
I'm not getting a Titan.
products. I know, I don't get it either, but that's just
No.
How much is it? What?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, that's my limit. I'm not getting a Titan.
Don't get me
See,
wrong.
you know what? This is why I'm now getting into 40k tabletop. Because you know what I could do for that money? Legacy Unicron.
True,
With that, I could
but
get a
I'd
whole.
rather still get Studio One Cell.
For that, I could get a super cool model for a new Halloween form. I mean,
can draw
VTuber
mine.
model. But yeah. I would love one of these things, but it's not worth that much money. I would need to be a
I'd rather
rich
get-
man.
I'd rather get one of like the Horus Heresy ones, but that's because they're the size of Titans because it's made for a smaller version of the game.
Yeah.
And
That's how
even
some
then,
people are. I want to
no.
really quickly go on a tangent about humanity's technology in 40k, because the Knights are one of the most awesome aspects of it. It's
They
all
are.
based on the idea that older is better, because Dark Age humanity had some boosts in technology, and it's never been fully recreated since the Age of Strife. The Knights embody older is better in two very interesting ways. For one, the STC for Imperial Knights is almost completely uncorrupted. That means that unlike almost any other army in modern 40k, the
not know
Imperial Knights are a glimpse of just what
Yeah,
ancient
their AI
humanity
is
could do.
uncorrupted.
And what they could do is kick ass. And since it's undegraded, they can keep making more of them, so there's no fear of this army running out of
that
troops and
probably means
supplies.
that
The other way they
whenever
show
go to
older
the
is
war,
better is that
means
throne
they can
mechanicus
just about
thingy.
as
When
twisted
someone
as
bonds
everything
with an
What'd you say?
The Chaos Knights and how they're like
Yeah.
just about as twisted as everything else. Because there was a Titan that went through the warp and it came out completely insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the knight, a little bit of their personality is absorbed into the suit.
Oh, wait,
40k being
wait, go back.
running out of troops and supplies. The other way they show older is better is that throne mechanicus thingy. When someone bonds with a knight, a little bit of their personality is absorbed into the suit. 40k being what it is, part of their soul may damn well be a part of it as well. So not only are you piloting advanced Dark Age tech, you get the wisdom and knowledge of all the previous pilots too. Given that oftentimes it's familial lines who end up driving these monsters, there's decent odds that Grandma and Grandpa are the ones telling you how to fight, which I gotta be honest, is probably a real morale booster. You're doing
Yeah, that is really cool, actually. That makes me think of, like, magical weapons, which these are knights, so it kind of works.
Also, how machine spirits work in 40k is kind of weird.
It's
Extremely weird.
always been weird.
Doing great, Sonny. Don't
Go
forget
pray
to
to
eat
your
your
toaster.
vegetables and remember to burn all the York spores so no more of them pop up. I mean, I think that'd be awesome. Lastly,
Yeah,
the models are
it's
just...
actually pretty cool, though.
I don't even have words for it. Just look at them. I know they all come from the same base kit and that this is a flaw worth mentioning, but that
But-
one base kit is absolutely stunning. And there are
Yeah.
larger units that look a bit different and are
Oh,
smaller
yeah.
so as to give a sense of scale to
And
your
out-
knights.
and
No
actually
sense
the
being big
knights
if you
are
know what you're
very
big in relation
posable.
to, after all. The weapons, the
yeah.
armor, the
Be
little shield that
posed.
serves literally no purpose but to have a coat of arms put on it, absolutely stunning. And the best part is you can paint them simply or incredibly intricately and it'll look great either way. Now for tabletop reasons. I'll just get to the point. These things are
Knowing me,
powerful,
I'm
stronger
going
than
to
greater
spend
demons in fact. I'm not
months
making that up
on it.
just because I hate chaos.
Yeah. What did he say?
Either way. Now for tabletop reasons. I'll just get to the point. These things are powerful, stronger than greater demons in fact. I'm
Yeah.
not making that up just because I hate chaos. Here are the
My
stat lines for a knight paladin.
Periods
probably.
hasn't played that out, no.
In terms of tabletop rules, though.
Most basic of the knight options, and a
Yeah.
bloodthirster. Sure, in some ways the
In
bloodthirster
tabletop
is better.
rules.
Higher leadership, more attacks at first, better to hit rolls, and he's a bit faster.
Um,
Other than that, the knight is equal to, if not better
The guy
than the
teaching me to
bloodthirster
play
in
kept
every
swarming
other way.
with
The knight
corn
has
demons.
a vastly more varied loadout.
Well, that's because that's what corn demons do. You don't ever let them get in melee.
How the fuck do I stop them? They just teleport in front of me.
Which means you have a lot of versatility compared to a greater demon, each of which usually has a shtick they're going to stick to. The knight is pretty good in both range and melee, so it can weaken the bloodthirster and still be capable of fighting at close range. Sure, a bloodthirster is probably going to win if they start right next to each other, especially if the cornflake goes first, but that's what the ranged weapons are for. The save
Yeah.
is the same, and depending on the weapon loadout, the knight can hit just as hard as the bloodthirster, or a bit weaker than it can. And to top it all off, the knight not only has a whole lot more wounds, but its degrading stat line is more generous than the bloodthirsters, at least
I
in my
see.
opinion. Because of the extra wounds, it takes a lot longer to drop down the track, and while the penalty to its 2 hit rolls is a lot steeper than the bloodthirster, it doesn't lose any of its attacks, whereas the bloodthirster does. The point of that whole lecture is that I still hate Khorne and always will outside of Total War, but also the knights are strong as
Agreed!
hell. Almost anything 1v1 is going to go in the knight's favor, or at the very least the knight is still going to have a fighting chance. Sure, Kayn can one-tap these things, I mean he can one-shot a Warhound Titan, but the thing about that is most
Oh.
models in the game aren't Kayn. Knights indeed perform
Yeah.
very well against low model count armies for that reason. Even the Custodes, golden bodyguards of God the that they are, really struggle against the Knights in terms of direct combat. Of course, there's a
Interesting.
downside to this that we'll cover later, but purely in terms of combat, yeah, the Knights are pretty much unmatched, especially because most
Cool.
armies have a couple big units that hit really hard, whereas you have a couple small units that still hit hard. Speaking of, the Knights also have a smaller backup type of mini-Knight, the
Yeah, this
Armiger.
one.
There's only two types, a shooty one and a stabby one, but they're perfect for working as a screen for the Knights and either drawing fire or taking advantage
Yeah,
of the
the
Knight's
armature.
presence to slip into a flanking
Yep,
position and penetrate the rear line.
they're-
As
these
is
are
fitting to the
basically the
lore, an
squires.
Imperial Knight can also
They're not
Pretty
knights.
Yeah.
They're more like
make the
standard
perfect
mechs,
ally in another Imperial army. What you might lose in terms of abilities that require a mono-faction army, you gain in having a giant mech suit stopping across the battlefield and blowing away everything else to Kingdom
That is
Come.
quite
Knights
the
are also
gain.
scary. This sounds
Yeah.
like a nothing statement, but hear me out. Think again about units like Cain, Greater Demons, or fittingly enough for this video, a Wraith Knight. Once one of those is on the tabletop, it dominates the board. To some extent, the other player is always going to have to keep it in mind because of how powerful these things are, even if they're
Yeah.
confident that they can take it down with their own anti-armor. It at the very least will heavily play into how they deploy their forces, because these bigger kinds of models can wreck shop if they aren't taken into account properly. Now take that mindset and apply it to an army that's nothing but these big units. If the opponent only has a few anti-armor options, they're going to be terrified of these things on the tabletop purely because of a knight army's raw power.
Oh.
To once again go off on a tangent, beefgate
True.
is a term that means an entryway constructed out of cow meat. Less
What?
schizophrenically, in a video game, a beefgate is a monster that keeps
Yes.
you out of higher level areas in a game. You gotta know what you're doing and
No,
gear
go
up
back to
before you're
cow
ready
meat.
to go through. That's kind of what an Imperial Knight is to new Warhammer players. Until someone has a handle on what they're doing with Warhammer 40k as a game, when they see someone plop down 3 nightmare frames on the table and say, I am ready to start the game now, they're going to have no idea what to do. Even against more
Yeah.
experienced players, Knights can still cause them
Violence.
anxiety because of their capabilities. And against newer players, they just flat out might not have the models to deal with one of these things. There's a reverse of this that I'll get into in the flaws section as before, but the main thing to take note of is that Knights are scary both for the minis who have to take morale tests against them and the other player who knows he has
Morale.
to fight against
Morale test against it. I do love that you have to take a morale test against them. Because,
Like, 'cause, yeah, that's a big hunking fucking machine popping down out of nowhere.
yeah.
several of these giant models. If you want to bully someone just getting into the hobby, play
Anything
Knights.
south
That'll
of
make you
Titan.
friends. Lastly, the Imperial Knights are actually one of the cheapest armies to collect. Now,
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
No, it's because...
You know how much a combat patrol costs compared to one Imperial Knight?
$40, but you need a lot more of them.
No, a combat patrol is about 106. Actually, it costs just about as much as one of these knights for way less plastic.
funny.
So the knights, I can understand this.
Yeah, here's
That's
the thing.
great. I'm still not giving Games Workshop my money.
Fair enough.
That's fair enough.
I'm sure you're going to go look at the prices on the web store and tell me in the comments that I'm out of my insulin-deprived mind. But it's true. Because you only need a few knights and
Yes!
some armigers for a complete army, those price tags amount to only a few purchases and you're done. Hell, if you mostly just play smaller point games, buy a single knight and a box or two of armigers and you're good to go. Easy to
Oh.
paint, assemble, and get a game with them. Knights are, in my opinion, a pretty good army for new players. In fact, while making this, part of me now wishes I went with knights for an army, but my elf himself just couldn't let that happen.
Oh
But
my
even these
God.
glorious heroes have
Oh,
flaws
come
in
on,
both
man.
lore and tabletop. It'll be a bit lighter here than usual do or don'ts for the lore flaws because mech suits are awesome, but a good starting place is a lore positive I said earlier. If you don't like 40k's science fiction mixed with past aesthetics, you really won't like the knights. Because
Yeah.
even beyond them all acting like knights, they
I can
look
get
like
behind
a
'em.
robotic version of a knight.
So can I.
Battletech has House Kurita looking like samurai, and even they don't go as hard on the aesthetics, because at least there it looks like they made a robot suit to look like a
That actually
samurai.
looks
The
kinda
Imperial
boring.
Knights are almost the opposite.
Yeah, that's the problem I have with a lot of battle mechs. Well, mech warrior stuff is the designs don't look cool to me.
It's a good thing Moku's not here.
Yeah, he'd probably get me an earful for it, but that's
Give
the
him my
main-
regards this Saturday.
The problem with a lot of mech warrior stuff is it all looks barely mecha. Like, it looks like it'll shamble and fall down.
I actually do like Mech Warrior, but mostly because I enjoyed the shit out of 5 Mercenaries.
I just have a problem with how slow everything moves and how it looks.
I just
I don't know,
thought I'd
maybe-
have fun.
Like,
Maybe my brief GBO2 obsession has innuated me to slow ass shit.
I mean, I was in GBO2 for a while, like for about 2 to 3 years, and no, I was not into this. even still. Because the mechs look interesting in GPO2. Like, the gun can MPT, I love him. Sure, he moves like shit, but he's still cool looking. As for this guy, he's one of the better designs I can say, but not by much. Because there's not a lot of great designs.
Of that.
In
It's like they
MechWar.
tried to turn a suit of knightly armor into a mecha. So if you don't like that kind of thing, don't go for the Imperial Knights. Beyond that, usually in lore, the Knights are supporting other armies when they're involved. Whether
Yeah.
that be because they've sworn direct
that's what my
fealty to a
Knights are.
Titan Legion, or they're just lending a helping hand, it generally plays out as the Knights are assisting X faction and not the reverse. While it is a good thing to give someone a helping hand, it can appear like the factions of this army don't have much agency of their own. So if you want your army to be the master of their own destiny, then again, you might not want these guys. And I'll be honest here, I'm out of flaws I see that are obvious. I'm sure some will say in the comments that Knights are a huge hassle for logistics and stuff, and they're right, that is a flaw. It's just a flaw that I don't really care to touch upon, because when I'm playing a war game set in a universe called Warhammer, that's not what I'm really focusing on, you know? Unless
True.
it's about the Eldar and stuff, or comparing it to Slipspace, of course, because in that case it helps my incredibly biased argument. But Tabletop? Yeah, there's some flaws there. That power I talked about comes with a hefty price tag. In the Bloodthirster comparison from earlier, the Knight costs almost double the points. So while the Knight's got an edge up on the
God
competition
damn.
power-wise, it's not something you just get for
Yeah,
free.
they
For a
cost
hell of a
a
thing on the
shit ton of
tabletop,
points.
there's never going to be more than a dozen models in your army, and that's only if you have armatures in your force. If you don't
Yeah,
have
in fact, I
armatures,
had to
you'll have like
increase my,
3 or 4 realistically. You're
Yeah.
going to always be heavily
Costs
outnumbered,
just
and
to
while this
have
does
a
simplify
knight.
things like moving and choosing what to do with your models, it also leads into 2 further problems. One is that objectives are almost a lost cause. Even the Custodians have more objective capturing power, and they're probably the second smallest army in the game. And if you're up against something like the Tyranids, you better just hope that all those dice rolls turn out well, because otherwise those dozens of models aren't going to be sharing that objective with you. Granted, the Knight can just, kill the models, but if for whatever reason you can't, you're going to have to learn to say goodbye to those victory points. 2 is that
Yeah.
if you lose a single model, you're up shit's creek without a paddle. That can be a third or fourth of your army right there, so while you can throw them into a situation and they'll kick some ass, you need to know what they can and can't do. Because if you don't and you throw these guys to the wind, it might cost you the game. Anti-armor weapons in particular are going to be the bane of your existence. It's even worse because if you're fighting, say, the Guard, you might have to chew through a lot of infantry before you can get rid of their anti-armor. And that's disregarding the fact that 100 lasguns might do you in on their own, or if the army's mobility
Possibly.
is high enough to avoid the Knights, such as the Eldar. While 12 inches of movement is a lot, the Eldar aren't exactly going to have problems keeping up or staying away from that. Also, remember how I said Knights are intimidating to newer players, especially if they don't have the models to deal with it? Here's a tier list, and you can see the Knights are smack dab in the middle of tier 3. While all tier lists are subjective, I mean, after all, DDD should be triple S tier and Smash 5, because he's just the best. The point is that Knights stop being nearly as intimidating once you know what you're doing, because there's pretty much only a few things each of them can do. More experienced players are going to be able to counter the Knights based on their experience with the game, so that's something you're going to have to keep in mind. You're not just getting an auto win button with the Imperial Knights. Lastly,
Yeah,
while
damn.
Knight armies overall are cheaper than most others, you're spending a lot at once on them. A Guard
Yeah,
army
if
is going to
anything, they
bankrupt
are
you over time, but the
very
Knights will do it
glorified,
all at once with the $170
support
price
support
tag. Before
weapons if
taxes,
you're
of course. Gotta help
sticking
you
to
if you
one
choose
version,
Forge
like for
World
me.
Knights. just buy a
Space
Titan.
Holy
you go-
fuck!
What the
That's a
hey?
that's a Forge World Knight.
Yep.
Like, don't get me wrong, these models are cool, and Forge Worlds are cool because they're run by the Mechanicus and obviously give the Knights upgrades, but goddamn.
Going in on this guy, do yourself a favor. Unrelated, but I like how the frequently bought together items are both paintbrushes for the Knight. Like, usually it'll be something like Guardians, Farseer, Wraithguard, or something like that. But
You're
here,
not
they
buying
know,
another
they
model
know
of
you're
this.
just getting this monster. And that should
Yeah.
just be about that should just be about these fucking... Why am I having problems here? That's what you need to know for the Knights, okay? Big stompy
Yeah.
robots that ironically might be best used as support for another army, but by God, is the enemy going to feel it either way when these guys take to the table. Beautiful paint jobs, beautiful stats, overall, great army. I like it, and I don't know how to end this sentence, so I'm just going to end the video now. Thank you, as
Okay.
always, to my wonderful
Fair
channel
enough.
members. You are the armature to my knight, providing me with the help I need to reach my prime. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to consider subscribing or becoming a member. Either
Okay,
way,
well,
thank you for watching, and take care out
Let's see
there.
what he likes. What's next? Let's see what he always has a very end segment.
I think I missed a few references to other big mechs in fiction in this video, so let me just fix that real quick. Alright, let's see.
Well, what's our
There's
cool?
86, Gurren Lagann. There's got to be something else, right? Does War of the Worlds count? The tripod sound counts. That's awesome as hell,
kinda.
but I don't know if they themselves count. Whatever. Big robots are cool, and you should watch everything they're in. Also, Pacific Rim is a masterpiece. That's just not up for debate.
Yeah, I can't agree with
Again,
that.
the original one's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm still working on the Xenogear script. I'm still going insane.
Why are you working on a Xenogear script?
So Moku will stop asking me when it's okay. He doesn't ask me, but like I promised him I'd have Zeno episode ready.
Well,
Yeah.
I asked for like you'll have at least a month more to work on it because I'm going to be working on a Gundam section for episodes. So
Ah,
My issue is it's
seeing as we do shit bi-weekly, I'll be handling the Gundam episode of the month.
that's nice. It's
yeah. So, thank you all so much for coming by. If you like our ramblings, consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. These guys will be down in the description below. And I'll see you all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
fine.